Hi, it's Chris at the Quilter's Nook, and it's time for another Studio 180 design technique. Today we're going to work with curved log cabin. Last time we did the traditional log cabin, now we're going to do curved. So instead of all of our logs being exactly the same size going all the way around, half are going to be wide strips and half are going to be narrow strips. But the process is exactly the same as what we did last time. So we're going to start with our center squares, and we're going to put them on our wide strip, and we're going to just leave space in between, and we're going to cut those guys apart just roughly, and we're going to press to the log. Okay, when you get that done, you're going to trim on both sides of this first round because we are going to add to all four sides of our center square. So we're going to trim on one side, turn it around, we're going to trim on the other side. Okay, just like that. So that's our center square and our first log. So we're going to flip this down. We're going to add a piece. Add all those pieces to your next wide strip. Just like we did last time. With the log you just trimmed closest to you. And you're going to sew those down. When you have those all done and cut apart, we're going to press up to the log like we did before. And this time we're going to trim on the right-hand side of our piece so that the square is straight with our log. Now we're going to add our narrow strips. So we're going to take our narrow strip, the log you just did, flips, comes closest to you, goes on to your strip. Okay, sew, press, trim, put on the next log, sew, press, trim. Okay, so that when you are done, this is what you have. You have your center with your two wide logs and your two narrow logs. So now we're going to do our first trimming. And my sheet tells me that I'm going to do my first trimming at 3.5. We put on the wide logs first, so we're going to trim the wide logs first. So I'm going to take my common diagonal, and it's going to go through this diagonal. The 3.5 inch sizing is going to go through the other way. So we have our diagonal going through one direction, 3.5 inch sizing guide going through the other direction. Okay, on our wide logs. And we're going to trim. We're going to turn it around. Now we're going to now we're going to trim our narrow logs. And our narrow logs this time are going to get trimmed to 2.5. So we're going to do the same thing. Common diagonal through one direction, the 2.5 through the other direction. Okay, so everything's based on that center square. And we're going to trim. Okay, we have our first round of logs. We're going to take this narrow log that we did, this was the last one we did, and we're going to start our next round. So again, it's going to get flipped, and we're going to start by adding our wide logs again. Okay, so you'll put all those on your strip, you'll cut them apart, and you'll press. And you're going to go all the way around just like we did. When you get all the way finished, you're going to have 2 rounds of logs. Again, we're going to trim the wide logs first, and we're going to trim those to 5.5 this time. So I'm going to take the 5.5 inch sizing guide, and he's going to go through one direction. The common diagonal goes through the other direction. And it may be hard to see, but everything hits at all your points along the way. So everything stays nice and square. up and across. Turn it around, and our narrow sides are going to get trimmed at 3.5. Common diagonal. Move it down so our 3.5 is going through the other diagonal, just like such. And you can tell here we're at 4.5 inches. Okay, so you have another way to check, but everything's based on that center. And trim. And you have a nice little start of a curvy log cabin. You can make this block as big as you want. You can make them 11.5 inches if you want to. So this is a way to do a nice curvy log cabin. If you need some further instructions on that, want some more clarification, stop in. I'd be happy to show it to you. Otherwise, have a good time with that, and we'll do another video for you next week. Take care.